Brasil, estamos falando de mais de 11 milhões de pessoas que já entendem que a Terra é plana. E essas pessoas, não digo todas, mas uma boa parte está pesquisando, está questionando. Por quê? Porque não queremos viver numa mentira. Os terraplanistas costumam fazer suas experiências, suas pesquisas. Quando a gente vai no horizonte, a gente vai na praia, a gente vai numa montanha e vai tirar foto do mar ou do horizonte, a gente vê que ele é sempre plano, ele tem sempre um nível, ele nunca faz uma curva, como eles mostram nos livros de ciência.
Sabe-se que a Terra não é plana simplesmente vertical.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down every 5 minutes. He should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. But the thing that really got me interested was, as you say, the gyroscope. In a plane, there is an artificial horizon, okay, and it's based on a gyroscope. And if you spin a gyroscope on a surface, it will want to stay upright. You can twist and tilt the surface as much as you like. The gyroscope will stay upright. So if a plane has a gyroscope and it starts following the curve of the Earth, the gyroscope would stay upright, which means the artificial horizon will start to roll backwards. But it doesn't. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one. Because I asked the pilot on my last flight, do you ever notice the artificial horizon rolling backwards? He said, no, but the artificial horizon has complex electronics in it to make sure it knows where it is on the Earth and it compensates. But I went to the manufacturer of the artificial horizon, and they confirmed to me that it's completely mechanical, nothing electronic in it whatsoever. So it's literally just a gyroscope that can freely move. So that right there is proof to me that planes fly over a plane. None of it makes sense. The problem is that we're taught as children, this ball Earth lie, and you might ask as a child, what about the people in Australia? They're standing on the bottom of the globe, won't they fall off? And your teacher says, no, gravity. And you go, oh, okay. And you never go back to that question. But when you go back to it as an adult and start looking at it with a critical eye, right, the whole thing falls apart. As you say, the globe is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a leading astronomer in America,
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
Tells us that the Earth is not a perfect circle. It is actually an oblate spheroid. It's squashed and wider at the equator. Yeah.
So Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning, and it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
So my question to him would be, why is there land at the equator? Because water will move more readily than rock. So if the Earth is spinning, the water will be collected at the equator. I mean, if you spin a wet tennis ball, you spin a wet tennis ball, the water shoots off at the equator, essentially. So all the water will be gathered around the equator. So why is there land at the equator? Doesn't make any sense. The other thing that's about the spinning Earth is looking at the stars. Now, directly above the axis of spin is the pole star, Polaris, directly over the North Pole. And we're told that the reason that all the stars spin around the North Star is because the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Seems to make sense, because if you put a long exposure camera pointing at the North Star, you'll see the stars will make perfect circles around, perfect star trails. The only problem is the Earth is also orbiting the Sun at 67,000 miles an hour. The Sun is moving, dragging the Earth and all the planets up that way or that way at 600,000 miles an hour. So why do we see perfect circles? Because that's the slowest speed, that's slowest motion in that mix, and yet the Earth is moving 67 times faster that way and 600 times faster that way. So you should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions, but you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth. The thing is, what the scientists will give you is calculations and and theories why that happens. But we have experience. We see things and they either make sense or they don't make sense. What the scientists do is substitute our common sense and our intuition for calculations and theory, and we're supposed to believe the calculations rather than what we experience ourselves. There was a famous experiment back in the 1800s in England called the Bedford Levels experiment. Now, the Bedford Levels is a canal that is perfectly straight for 6 miles. So what a chap called Samuel Rowbotham did was he took a telescope, put it in the water about 8 inches above the water, and he had a friend, in a rowboat with a flag on the back, row all the way to the other end, and he was able to see the flag on the back of the rowboat the whole distance. Now, according to spherical trigonometry, the curve of the Earth is 8 inches per mile squared. So over 5 miles, that's 5 times 5, 25, times 8, which is 200, works out, that's 200 inches, which works out at 16 feet. That means the boat should have been 16 feet below the horizon. You shouldn't have been able to see the boat. Now, the scientists will say, refraction and this and light bending around the Earth and stuff. But the fact is, it's perfectly flat. And he in his book, he puts forward many arguments that show that, or many experiments that show the Earth is always perfectly flat. They say that you see the mast, go down last. Is literally just the way your vision works. It's perspective and atmospherics, basically. The limit of your vision is supposedly 3 miles. And then after 3 miles, you're supposed to see the boat start to go over the horizon. It's funny that Neil deGrasse Tyson again says that, explains that you can't see the curvature of the Earth from a plane. he says this, you can't see the curvature of the Earth from a plane because you're not high enough. The Earth is so big that you can't get high enough to see the curvature. Yet, you can apparently see a boat go over the curvature, over the distance of 3 miles, which doesn't make sense. The thing is, when you look out and you see a boat start to go over the horizon, if you suddenly get a pair of binoculars and look, it comes back again. And once it goes out of the sight of your binoculars, if you get a telescope, yeah, it comes back again. It doesn't go over any curve of the horizon. What we found, many people have done experiments with very high-powered zoom cameras, and they've watched a boat sail out to sea, and they've just kept trained on this boat. And what they see is, after a very long distance, you see an atmospheric effect where the bottom of the boat disappears and the top of the boat inverts, so you see a sort of mirror image. And that, with your eyesight, basically the bottom of the boat just melts into the horizon. One of the best examples of that is the Antwerp Notre Dame spire, which can be seen something like 240 kilometers away from the spire. So that should be over a mile below the horizon, and you can still see it. There's been a few famous examples just recently of a man who took a picture across the Great Lakes from Michigan and was able to see, I believe it's Chicago, which he shouldn't have been able to see. And the television station basically said it was a mirage.
This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline.
But they always say it's a mirage, but for a mirage to happen, you have to have very specific atmospheric conditions. And there have been so many people who have seen exactly the same thing on different days, different seasons, always the same. It's not a mirage. It's simply that you're looking across a plane. You see in a kind of pyramid shape. Yeah, you have a horizon at your eye level, and everything above the horizon will go down into the horizon. Yeah, everything below the horizon will seem to go up. Just like if you're in a long hallway, you'll see that the walls will start to move in, and the roof and the floor will start to move into the center. Yeah, so literally between you and the object you're looking at, there's all sorts of things, sort of like waves going up and down, and while you can't see them, if they're beyond the limit of your sight, sometimes they can still obscure what you're looking at. But it's just because they're between you and it. And it's just the way, it's literally perspective. It's better if I could draw a diagram, but it's a very difficult subject to get your head around if you're not used to it. But it is perspective. One sort of other proof is there's a salt flat. It's literally 100 miles wide one way and 80 miles across. And it's perfectly flat. When it rains, literally you get an inch of water, and it looks like a perfect mirror. Now, how does that happen on a sphere? Yeah, it shows you that if you're one end of this salt flat, you can see perfectly clearly the other end 100 miles away. So it's just showing you that the Earth is flat, and without the effect of the waves in the sea, you'll be able to see a whole lot further. If you were to go to NASA and download one of their photos of the Earth in the moon's sky and put it in Photoshop, okay, drop the saturation and the levels down, you'll see that the Earth has been pasted in, because you'll see a rectangular box around the Earth. It's all fraud. It's all fake. Pretty much everything NASA puts out is fraudulent. There are no images of Earth from space. The only one that NASA actually claims is a photograph, was from 1972, and it's the famous picture. It's got Africa sort of near the top, and it's the same picture they've been using for the last 40 or 50 years in every textbook. Every other image is what they call a composite. It's Photoshop.
There was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Today marks a historic day for international space research. Chandrayaan-3 has successfully landed near the south pole of the moon, making India the first country to do so. India's success comes just days after Russia's Luna 25 spacecraft crashed while trying to touch down in the same region. The Indian Space Research Organisation, or ISRO, launched Chandrayaan-3 on the 14th of July from the Sriharikota Space Centre in South India. At launch, it had three components: a propulsion module to travel between the Earth and the Moon, a landing module to guide with soft landing, and a rover to traverse the moon's surface. But why is this landing such a big deal? Because it paves way to finding water-based ice on the surface of the moon, which according to scientists could potentially support human habitation on the moon. But what's next? Now that the Chandrayaan-3 has successfully landed, the rover will traverse the surface of the moon, gathering crucial data and images to be sent to the lander. The lander will pass this data onto the orbiter to send to Earth. Scientists say that this will help us to understand more about the moon.
Money is a good thing. If you want to buy new things, new rockets, instead of keep doing the same thing over, then it's going to cost more money. And other things need more money too. So having achieved what the president wanted us to do, and then what thousands, millions of people in America, and millions of people around the world. You know, when we toured around the world after we came back, the most fascinating observation was signs that said, we did it. Not just us, not just America, but we, the world, different countries. They felt like they were part of what we were able to do. And that made us feel very good.
I saw your ship blow up. The ship? We would never end the ship. We designed the damn thing, didn't we?
We were hidden in the first booster rocket to separate. Splashed down back in the Atlantic just as planned. We ain't going nowhere.
You got one. I always get what I want, Sam. We just needed to be sure.
Sure of what?
That they would go without a fight.
Say again?
We're tracking an incoming object.
saw your ship blow up. The ship. We would never end the ship. We designed the damn thing, didn't we?
We were hidden in the first booster rocket to separate. Splashed down back in the Atlantic just as planned. We ain't going nowhere.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going. Money.
And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good.
Hello, it's me. You know, indoctrination started while we were still naive, programming our beliefs. That inertia is the reason we don't feel the earth spinning. Hello, can you hear me? Did you ever stop to question the confession of gravity as a theory? Funny thing, force alone can be explained with buoyancy and density. The sun is closer than what they've told us, not 90 million miles away. Hello from the inside, I'm here to tell you not to lie. And there never was a space probe, and those planets you've left so wandering stars. Operation Fishbowl, there never was a South Pole. We're surrounded by walls of ice, and we clearly live inside of a glass door. Hello, how are you? Did you get a chance to join Flight Earth and Globe discussion group to discover all the truth? How the sun, the moon, the stars are all revolving around you. There's no more secret The earth is stationary, it is fixed, unmovable. Hello from the brighter side. They fooled you with that CGI. Sending rockets into the sea, and then faking that live ISS feed. No matter how high you go, horizons rise to eye level. Walk out from the world's greatest fiction. Show you won't need your globe. God won't send me more. Over 120 scriptures support the geocentric design of this earth. Railroads, bridges, lighthouses fail corrections, make mistakes. Don't be fooled by perspectives. It's unlimited vision hiding your ships. Compasses and gyroscopes prove the earth is not a globe. Moonlight, star trails, Polaris too prove we are not the ones on the moon.
Chapter 38. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that hearkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut up the sea with doors, when it brake forth as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and brake up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the dayspring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it? It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? Or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it all. Where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it because thou wast then born? Or because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who hath divided a watercourse for the overflowing of waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, on the wilderness, wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and to cause the bud of tender herb to spring forth. Hath the rain a father? Or who hath begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover thee? Canst thou send lightnings, that they may go and say unto thee, Here we are? Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts? Who can number the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay the bottles of heaven when the dust groweth into hardness and the clods cleave fast together? Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetite of the young lions when they couch in their dens and abide in the covert to lie in wait? Who provideth for the raven his food? When his young ones cry unto God, they wander for lack of meat.
In this video, there's a minimum of 75 Bible verses with prophecies and Bible codes that prove a flat geostationary Earth. I've grouped most of these verses into groups of 3, so I'm going to be counting down from 25 to 1. It'll make sense to you in a minute. And I've saved the best 2 for last. So let's start with some easy ones. Number 25, corners. Isaiah 11 verse 12, 4 corners of the earth. Revelation 7 verse 1, 4 corners of the earth. Revelation 20 verse 8, the 4 corners of the earth. You can't have corners on a sphere. That's because the earth is not a sphere. It's flat. Number 24, still earth. 1 Chronicles 16 verse 30, the world also shall be stable, that it be not moved. Psalm 96 verse 10, the world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved. Psalm 93 verse 1, the world also is established, that it cannot be moved. It's all consistent, clear as day. If the world isn't moving, then it's not spinning, and neither is it orbiting around the sun. Number 23, pillars. 1 Samuel 2 verse 8, for the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. Job 9 verse 6, and the pillars thereof tremble. Psalm 75 verse 3, I bear up the pillars of it. There's nothing about a ball-shaped earth that you can fit pillars into. That's because the earth is not round, the pillars hold up a flat earth, there's a dome on top, the earth is flat. Number 22, the firmament dome. Isaiah 24 verse 18, for the windows of heaven are opened. It's a dome over a flat earth. Isaiah 13 verse 13, therefore I will make the heavens tremble. If the heavens can tremble, then it has to have solidity to it. Genesis 1 verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. It's a dome over a flat earth that separates the waters above the dome. I read this so many times and I didn't see what was going on. I read the word firmament, didn't understand it, but it makes so much sense now when you take it literally. Strong's Concordance defines the word firmament as a solid expanse, roughly like the domed roof on this building here. Here's the inside of that dome, and the stars that we see in the sky would be fixed into this solid firmament, and the whole thing rotates around a flat, stationary earth. That's why all the stars move around the sky together as one set piece, because you can only have a solid dome separating the waters above from the waters and seas below on a flat earth with the atmosphere in the middle. It doesn't work on a ball-shaped earth. Number 21, the firmament dome continued. Isaiah 44 verse 24, I am the Lord who made all things, who alone stretched out the heavens, who spread out the earth by myself. Well, you can't spread something out by rolling it into a ball. Psalms 18, verse 9, he bowed the heavens also. 2 Samuel 22, verse 10 repeats the Psalms. It says, he bowed the heavens also. Strong's number H5186 describes the word bowed as bend. The heavens bend around us. It's a domed heaven around a flat earth. Number 20, the sun. There are 67 Bible verses that reference the sun moving. You can easily look this up. Here's a title on one website that lists them all. But zero, zilch, nothing, no Bible verses at all that ever make reference to the earth moving.
Oh.